There were people getting hit by scooters everywhere, and it was kind of crazy. And then all of a sudden, people still riding scooters, especially in ITP inside the perimeter.
Yep.
So the guy got hit and killed. So I'm gonna ask one of my kids yesterday at drills, anybody got an old scooter laying around? They went, yeah, I got one. I said, bring it. I'll give you some promo and paint it white and put the person's name on it and put it in downtown Atlanta that we need to grab these streets and get them safer for everybody. Everybody. So,
Yep.
you know,
All right. Is this updated? Why am I not looking at off on? This thing needs to be bigger. There we go.
oh, what happened?
That's
Oh,
right.
okay, never mind.
Grabbing the wrong thing. Why do I have screen capture on the wrong screen? I got the wrong screen capture. I'm capturing the wrong screen. There we go. Now I got big Dave Matthews face.
As long as it's not my feet, that's okay. I'm kidding.
Okay. Avoid the feet.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, I don't know if any tennis players are going to say, "Look at my feet." Give me a break. Give me a break. That ain't going to happen.
That reminds me, years and years ago when I lived in Lilburn, I was hanging out with Jeff Hillmeyer and Danny Davis, and we would all go to the pool in my neighborhood after playing tennis, and we'd all take off our shoes and socks and jump in. We all had the tennis feet. I mean, but we were playing a lot of tennis that summer, so we just had white feet. It was just
Oh
great.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. White feet, got a toenail missing here, there. Oh, blisters and calluses all over the place.
Yep,
Yeah, man.
exactly. Exactly. All right. So where's my questions? There we go. I got my questions. All right. And we are good to go. I'm working on my intro. Oh, I'm supposed to have a good intro, but I don't have one this week. What am I going to do with an intro?
Da, 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 da.
No, bumper music's totally different. That's its own thing. I can write some bumper music, but I also don't have any for this specifically. Arturo intro. Where's the template intro? I got to make sure I know what I'm typing. First one's always a few minutes late. Template intro. There we go. All right. All right. So we'll try this. It may come across as a little cheesy, but it'll work.
It's okay.
Cheesy's okay in this case. All right. So we will transition and we will be live. And I will say, hey, good morning. This is Sean with the Atlanta Tennis Podcast powered by Go Tennis. Check out our calendar of Metro Atlanta tennis events at letsgotennis.com, where you can also find deals on equipment, apparel, and members get 10% off our shop. So go get yourself an Atlanta Tennis Monsters shirt or even the Daniil Medvedev Lacoste shoes at 25% off for paid members. This is the first of our 6-week series, brand new starting today, which is why we're a couple minutes late, because that's what happens on the first day, with Dave Matthews is going to help us today. We are going to talk about how to choose the right junior tennis academy. And we've got 6 different topics that we're going to cover for this. And the first one is it's all about environment. So the word here is environment. And Dave, I've been thinking of the word culture. That's also a word that's more of a modern term as to how we've described things. And would you say it's that same thing? So what do we mean by environment when it comes to a junior tennis academy?
Yeah, I think, the one thing I feel is big, and this could go across every sport to a degree because there are academies in all sports. I mean, you even got IMG that's got 2 or 3 sports under their big bubble. Um, it it's got to be a nurturing environment. It's got to be an educational kind of environment. But the nurturing part, I think, is to me the one of the biggest sides of which where you choose to put your kid, your student, whatever. And it has to be a nurturing environment. That is number one. Some coaches coach differently. Some are a little tougher. Some are a little softer. Some, and in today's terms, that's called positive and negative. And Bobby Knight didn't do bad as a coach either, and everybody thought he was the most negative person in the world. But he was, like the book he wrote, The Power of Negative Thinking. he took the negative of what the opponent had and harped on it. And that was a reverse of what people think. But, you do have to really be aware. And I see people changing academies, coaches a lot. And, I never wish anybody worse than when they came to visit me or somebody else. You hopefully are always doing it for a positive, better environment, better situation, but it don't always work that way. And the grass always, especially if you're approached at tournaments if you're approached, be careful, because there's always salesmen in every field, everywhere, trying to sell something. And if you're approaching them, that's a whole nother ball game, because you're displeased, you're looking for something better, and that's okay. But that's the number one thing that I see, to try to find a nurturing environment that helps your kid. And to a degree, they have to, parents want to surround their kid with somebody that nurtures that same learning environment that they're trying to also impose it from the home side, because that does matter. Whether we like it or not, Sean, if we're coaching a kid, let's say in an academy environment, maybe 6-8 hours a week, you got to think of the percentage of that with the kid and how much they spend at home and how much they spend at school. We're really only touching them maybe 2, 3, 4% of the time is there. So what they get around us is only going to help or hurt. And if it's not a nurturing environment to help them learn, to help them think on their own, tennis is a hard sport if you can't think on your own, because you are out there in a rectangle by yourself or with one other person at most. So that's my idea of environment.
So in that case, we've got that environment that says, okay, nurturing is the word. We've got to consider this as a mentoring time of year. It's a mentoring time of their lives. And where you were, for me, very specifically, is finding that coach that cares about you. That makes me think back to when I did spend a few months at one of the other academies and I did not feel mentored. We'll just put it that way. I felt like I was a cog in the system. Makes me even more important than I was. I was just another paycheck, and I felt that. And I think we have a lot of academies that do that very specifically. So a good environment versus a bad environment. I had a little description of a bad environment. Have you seen anything recently where we still have coaches that are just accepting kids just to get the check and then not really caring about the child? Can they get too big where kids don't get attention? How does that play out?
Yeah, I think, back in my early days of trying to develop a junior tennis academy, I had, gone down the road. I remember when I tried out for my college basketball team after playing 4 years of college tennis. The one thing our coach, the basketball coach, did was, the first day of this open tryout, because he had about 8 or 9 scholarship players. And so there were about 3 spots left open. And we all, they had, basically walk-on tryouts. And, the scholarship players were out there with the walk-ons. Well, there were 42 of us total looking for 3 lane spots. And I had began my summer running 10 miles a day in the middle of the day to make sure that conditioning was not going to be the reason I got cut. If I didn't know the X's and O's, if I didn't know, if I couldn't shoot, if I couldn't rebound, whatever I thought I could do well, if I got cut because that wasn't good enough, okay, I can live with that decision. But to not be in condition and know I had a 2 or 3 month head start, that's just not, you know me, that's just not going to happen. So I walked on, and immediately the coach rolled out that big rack of like 12 basketballs, nice, brand new Wilson Jet basketballs. And everybody's like, oh boy, this is going to be good. We all got some brand new basketballs to play with. And then he says, okay, we'll see those in 2.5 weeks. And I was like, what? Well, we went through 3 hours a day of calisthenics, literally, jumping the bench with a medicine ball, jumping up, touching the rim for 30 seconds straight, all these calisthenics. And then at the end of like 2 hours, and I think it was about 2:10, I remember looking at the clock going, holy cow, how long can this last? And he said, okay, for cool down today, we're going to run 20 laps around the floor. Well, that's a 96-foot floor. And I'm thinking, cool down? Dude, that's a whole nother day's workout. What are you talking about? Well, you realize once you got going and you didn't stop, that was the key, was just to get going. And after about a week of that, 41 went down to about like 16. So he cut everybody. Well, now you know where I came from, where my discipline and push came from was because I want to surround myself with kids that want to be there. And they will literally go through anything to be there to get what I got to offer. That's the kind of kid I wanted. Well, that narrowed it down most of the time to, 8, 10, 12 kids maximum. And I could take small group on one court, another with a ball machine, and that's where the ball machine came in. And that was where my whole discipline and scenario came from. Did it fit everybody's agenda? No. But, it worked pretty well for some of y'all.
And that's how you choose your junior academy players. How are they then going to, which is my last question for today, how do they then learn that culture from you? Because I didn't know the culture when I came into your academy. It took me a while to figure it out and get it and say, you know what, if I'm the weakest one and I got a whole bunch of push-ups to do, that the other kids could do some push-ups for me and with me, and how you created that team atmosphere and how great it was. But I didn't know that day one. It's not like you have a sign out front that can describe that. It's difficult to share what your academy culture is. Do you know how, as a parent, I'm able to look at your academy or UTA or Windward or any of those other groups and say, this is really the type of place I want to be, without putting in my 60 to 90 days first?
Yeah, it's tough. I think, and what I've done all along is, if Sean comes in and his mom and dad, or even if Sean comes by himself and he's referred maybe by another player at a tournament or something, that's fine. I'll give the kid, I won't give it to him. I'll say, hey, here's a reduced rate, for, maybe 2 or 3 sessions to kind of see, because everybody's nervous coming in to start. No matter where you go, you're into a new environment. That's our key word. That's a good one. You're into a new environment with new players. You don't know how you're going to fit or not. And so, to give a little bit of a trial session, whether it's 2 or 3 times or something, we've gotten to a point where we don't give anything. We will give it to you. And if you decide to keep coming, we will subtract that off of the whatever monthly, weekly rate, however it's set up payment wise. And, because a lot of times what people will do when you start giving things away is, oh, well, I'll come and try it this month and then I'll try it again next. Oh, people will abuse the system if they find out what it is. So there's got to be a median there somewhere to let somebody try it without diving, like you said, for 3 or 6 months. That's a lot to risk. It is.
But even in that case, I try it. Am I not going to need to try it for 3 or 6 months? Is there I can get a feeling for a day? I remember you were describing the basketball and how much work it was not playing basketball. I remember the last time I played basketball was thinking I was going to be a basketball player, and I'm a 6-foot white guy. I'm not going that far, but I didn't really think about that when I was 12. And I went to my summer basketball camp for a week, and it was so much work. And what I found out was I didn't love basketball enough to put in that work. So I was the kid that went, no, I'm out of here. I'm going to go back to tennis. What I found out with you is I did love tennis enough to put in the same amount of work. And maybe that's a question for a parent to a child to say, all right, you really want to be good, you got to put in the work. Which thing, whether it's basketball, tennis, chess, the violin, I don't care what it is. I mean, we're here to help kids get better and become better people and help parents figure out what to do next and how to choose where your child goes. And junior academy specific, how do I say, okay, Dave Matthews is my guy. He's going to be hard on my kid, but that's kind of strange to find these days because we really want to coddle the kids. And I don't know how many academies out there are coddling kids. We'll get to the helicopter parent in a few weeks. Don't worry. But how many academies out there? And then the parents say, well, I want you to coddle my kid. I don't hear that. We end up coddling the parent. But in this case, again, how do I know? And maybe there just isn't an answer to this. Maybe it is you're gonna have to try one or the other. And what we see on our end as the coaches is we see you coming into us, you the parent that says, all right, you know what? I'm on my 4th academy in a year. That doesn't tell me there's something wrong with junior academies. That tells me there's one common denominator between you and all the academies you've been to, and it might not be that your kid is the problem. So in this case, we're trying to help the parent. We're going to educate the parent, say, hey, parents, we got 6 more weeks of this. Well, 5 more weeks of this. And let's pay attention and say, okay, one, pick the environment. And it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to put in some time. And you're going to have to buy into the way the coach operates. You're going to have to buy into the environment, the culture, and give it a shot. And maybe it really does take the 60 or 90 days. Maybe not every academy has a Dave Matthews first month discount. You can catch up payments later. We don't do free tennis anymore because we're full. And
Right.
you know what? You want to play with us? That's great. You can check out our website and get an idea of our culture.
Right.
But again, you really do. Maybe you just have to put in the time and give it a shot.
Well, yeah, I think anything, and like you said, you can go across musical instruments, chess. It doesn't matter. Um, a mentor in anything, there is no bridge to figuring that out quick. There isn't. I don't care. I mean, yeah, one of our favorite movies, Searching for Bobby Fischer. The dad's looking for the mentor for his son, who is a chess prodigy, who's never been taught to play chess, and he's wading those waters trying to find one. And the guy's very cold to him, but he has to be able to put up with some of that to figure out whether that's his coach or not. And
so what did he do? He ended up having to go with Ben Kingsley and Lawrence Fishburne.
That's right. That's right.
Find the right combination, right? Do you need Brad Gilbert and the dad that got you there? Or in this case, God, I think it's Tsitsipas. I'm like, are you really going to stick with dad instead of maybe getting a guy who's been there before? Or Donald Young, who really struggled to figure out if it should be his parents or not. I'm really glad Coco has brought in somebody who's been there before, and I really like that. But in this case, it takes some time to figure these things out, figure out what's right for you, your family, your child.
I think the biggest thing, if I were doing it, let's say Sean is my son and we're going down that road again, I think number one, as we go around and play, whatever it's level 7 or 6 tournaments, because that's usually the beginning area. While you're playing those tournaments, listen to what other players are saying more than you're willing to listen to a salesman come up and tell you how good their program is. Because, like I said, salesmen are when they find you, they're going to latch into you and put the sales move on you. And that's true in anything. I still, like you asked me a while ago, I've still heard of academies that, kids go over there and all of a sudden, if you're not in that lead coach's, whatever you want to call it, entourage or his blessing status, you ain't going to get on the court with that coach. So you're getting a sub coach. And to me, that's why I never hired more coaches. I went and got a ball machine, was because kids didn't come to see another coach. They came to see me. And I felt it was my duty, even though I could make more money by farming, by getting other coaches. Sean didn't come to see another coach. He came to see me and listen to whether he liked it or not. He knew what he was going to get. And I made sure that that's what he got, whether it was the best or the not. I gave you all I had, and that's all I can do, So
that's where a lot of coaches struggle to scale and say, okay, I'd love to take my academy to the next level. It makes me think. We talked to Marcelo Ferreira of Windy Hill recently, and he said he makes sure that he has to hire elite coaches, and somebody has to realize, hey, look, I'm one of 6 great coaches, and we're all at the similar level. And that's not hard. Sorry, that's not easy to find. That's not easy to scale and go that direction. So you do often end up with, like you said, sub coach. You're not getting Dave.
Right.
And then you get sub coach, but at some level, That's part of skate. You go to IMG, you're not getting, I don't know who's running IMG anymore, but you're not getting the top guys anymore. But Dave, I appreciate it. Next week, we got another topic. We'll have 5 more coming up. We will do this every Friday at 10 a.m. for the next 6 weeks, which does include the day after Thanksgiving, and it does include December 22nd, the weekend before Christmas. So, Dave Matthews, How to Choose the Right Junior Tennis Academy. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
You bet, buddy. Have a good day.